What's up guys, Hownish here, and today we've got quite a bit of Destiny 2 stuff to talk about. Of course, we now have confirmation that the DLC for Destiny 2 will land in May. I'll talk about that in a moment. We've got a little bit of information about the Raid Lair, the Prestige Eater of Worlds, and Raid Lair 2 coming in the next expansion, the delay to Mods 2.0 and the update to the mod system, a whole bunch of other changes and updates regarding various things, so let's get into it. Firstly, we did have the roadmap for Destiny 2, and they spoke about Season 3, but they didn't actually confirm whether that would feature an expansion, and Chris Barrett did confirm that Expansion 2 will launch alongside Season 3 in May. So it's still going to be a solid 3 months until we get this DLC, but of course Bungie have also outlined other changes coming in Season 3, including the arrival of the Prestige mode for the Eater of Worlds, which is pretty strange. That's when we'll also get seasonal Crucible rankings, private matches, a vault space increase, as well as the multi-emote wheel. So on the subject of the second DLC, DMG did confirm that Expansion 2 will have a raid there, and they'll talk about Eater of Worlds Prestige next week, so that'll be in this week at Bungie on the 8th of February. But of course it's pretty bizarre because we'll be getting the Prestige mode for a raid that came out months prior to that, as well as a new raid lair. But Hey Fitzy did ask, will we still be able to get the Prestige Argos ornaments in Season 3? And Chris Barrett said, we won't let anyone miss out on rewards, expect to hear more info on Prestige lair soon. So everything that we were supposed to be getting, we will be getting, even though it's going to be pretty late. And of course the other interesting thing is that they talk about mod improvements also coming in Season 3. And somebody asked Cosmo about this, and he says, yes, we were targeting a February release, but we knew that the scope of the rework could push it out to May, which is what the new current target is. It's great to get you this info sooner, but it will be more likely to change. So that mod system that they had hoped to do inside of February has been pushed back all the way to May, which is definitely disappointing. I think the mod system is one of the areas that needs a lot of work in order to make the game and loot more interesting in general. You have to let me know what you guys think about that. But someone did ask Cosmo why no Eververse changes were actually outlined in the kind of season roadmap, and Cosmo confirmed it is still the plan to make the Eververse changes when Crimson Days launches, and they'll have more info on that next week as well, so presumably in this week at Bungie. They have previously said that they want to put, some of the loot that you get from Bright Engrams into actual reward pools for activities, provide more gameplay paths to earn Bright Engrams, and specifically inside of Crimson Days, doing things like completing Nightfall's raids and Crimson Days milestones will give you exclusive legendary emotes, weapons, exotic sparrows. We'll also have things like earning, double engrams when we level up, one of the crimson ones, and illuminated engrams as well. And they did confirm that Tuesday the 13th is when Crimson Days will actually launch, so we're going to get a whole bunch of Eververse changes at the same time. We don't have too many specific details about Crimson Days just yet, but we do have this image here of a bunch of data mined kind of items and rewards for Crimson Days. So that'll be the kind of mid-February update, and then there will be an update later in the month on the 27th, and that's when we get, the high scoring for Nightfall's high score tracking, Fireteam members on the destination maps, and they're also going to be removing timers from Nightfall, so that's certainly a positive change. A lot of people don't like those timers. And someone asked about how the Rat King quest will work after the timer is removed. DMG did say that they're removing the 5-minute requirement, and the step will require Prestige Nightfall completion instead. To be honest, the most exciting thing to me inside of the February update is where they say Nightfall Strike unique rewards, so stuff that you only get inside of a Nightfall variant of a strike. I'd like to see, strike-specific loot across the board. Please just don't be things like emblems or shaders or something. We need actual themed gear for enemies. I think Nightfalls could be a really interesting place to add exotic variants of strike-specific loot, but maybe I'm just getting a bit carried away here. We'll have to find out. On the subject of February updates though, they do talk about the Lost Sector throttle. They actually have a hotfix plan for mid-February to fully address the issue. In the last update, they did reduce the throttle timer from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, but they say they do have a longer term fix for this problem, so that'll be interesting to see. On top of this, they speak about XP, so Destiny Update 1.1.2 reduced the amount of required XP for rank ups from 160k to 120k XP, but additional balancing for Crucible XP rewards are currently in development, planned for a future hotfix. Both quick play and competitive playlists will receive an increase to XP rewards. Additional information will be shared when available. And I feel like inside of PvP especially, we do need to see, more experience for actually completing matches. If you only play PvP, it does take a very, very long time to actually fill up that XP bar. But we heard about a whole bunch of changes coming to the sandbox and the crucible that will arrive later in March, and they're really attempting to switch up the way that the crucible feels. We've got multiple mobility changes, weapon changes, scoring changes. If you missed any of that stuff, I do have a video breakdown which I'll link in the description. But somebody asked about linear fusion rifles. DMG did say linear fusions are also being looked at. Like the snipers, flinch will be adjusted. They'll also be doing 6v6 Iron Banner inside of March, and because they mentioned 6v6 previously, a lot of people are saying it looks like we're only going to get Iron Banner and not 6v6 in general. But honestly, I would bet that this is basically a test run. So, you know, the 6v6 mode will be there. They're going to put it out into the Iron Banner, see how it plays, and hopefully, if all goes well, they'll actually be able to implement that inside of Season 3 with the DLC and everything like that. And that's presumably what they're doing by having it in the month before right there. It allows them essentially to test that inside of a live event. So I think March 27 is a really big deal in terms of that update. I'd be curious to hear any of your thoughts on that stuff. I think for everyone playing the game right now, everything we're getting in spring is pretty fantastic. That's just my personal opinion though, you know, I'm not forcing that on anyone else. I don't necessarily think that these changes are going to bring back a ton of people right now. Perhaps with the DLC, if that DLC looks like it's actually going to be good, you know, considering all the changes we're having here as well, things could absolutely change with this game, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts on that stuff anyway. Does any of this entice you to play Destiny 2 again? In other news though, Luke Smith tweeted for the first time in a little while, just acknowledging the development roadmap for Destiny 2. So he said, good stuff coming from the D2 team, keep the feedback coming, and don't be jerks. Kind of edgy there, Luke Smith, don't be jerks, man. Because, well, I mean, quite a lot of people have been pretty annoyed about the state of Destiny. It's interesting though that he says coming from the D2 team. Some people feel like this kind of suggests a separation in the teams at Bungie. Perhaps there's a big team working on future stuff. Honestly, if they've got a very large number of people working on the spring updates up to the DLC in May, then I'm very curious as to whether they'll actually get a September expansion out, considering the scope of changes that we'd also expect to see in the September expansion. You know, I think what we've got up until spring is really good, but I don't think it speaks to all of the changes and some of the very big systematic changes that the game is probably going to need in the long run. So I'm just kind of curious as to whether the September thing is even planned to be a thing at this point. Although we might get an indication of that, because on February 8th, also next Thursday when we'll get This Week at Bungie, Activision will be having its quarterly earnings report, and they'll be talking about the last quarter, so that'll be everything including Curse of Osiris and all the microtransaction earnings. So that in itself is going to be very interesting to see how, you know, investors and the people of Activision are talking about Destiny and how potentially they might be addressing or what some of their concerns may be about the franchise. But also in the past we have learned about some pretty big roadmap stuff. If they're trying to kind of encourage their investors and encourage people in the company that Destiny 2 is going to have very good updates and a promising future, then they could indeed kind of suggest what may be happening later in the year. You know, they might say we've got a big update coming in May, a lot of changes coming before that, and they might give us at least an indication as to whether we're going to get a big update or expansion later on this year as well. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. In other news though, I just wanted to point out the PvP population is actually quite a bit higher this week now that we've had the Iron Banner. Obviously this doesn't really mean all that much, it just means people are playing Iron Banner because they want the stuff, but it is nice to see a bit of a population increase there. Normally when I'd look at this, you'd be looking at around about 250 to 280,000 players tracked in a given day for Crucible, but for yesterday right here we can see 470,000 players, so that's definitely an improvement. Although around about a month ago, if you look at that PvE number, that was hitting over 1 million every single day. Partly, you know, this will be influenced by the fact Iron Banner is here this week, but also in recent times, you know, I've seen that as low as 500,000-600,000. So the fact that the PvE player base, you know, is dropping so significantly is certainly concerning, but of course that is what all of these updates coming in the spring are aiming to, you know, kind of fix. They want people back in the game, they're trying to make the game more enjoyable for everyone who's still playing. And like I said, I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts on all of that stuff, guys. Where do you stand with Destiny right now? One other thing, I am running a quick poll. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I'd be curious if any of you guys haven't entered it already, if you could let me know, would you like to see random rolls return for weapons and armor, or would you prefer, you know, a fixed system more like what we have now? It's something I'll be really curious to get your opinions on, so the link for that will be in the description and in the pinned comment below. For now though, I appreciate you watching this video as always, guys. guys, just wanted to round up a whole bunch of, various updates from all over the place. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to one of my sponsors, Moot. So Moot is a community platform dedicated to gamers who want to share the latest news or talk about their favorite games. The Moot app features a Destiny 2 lounge with discussion forums, LFG, and more. So if that sounds cool to you, you can check out the app on Android and iOS or desktop, and those links will be in the description below. For now though, if you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more Destiny 2 content going forward, feel free to hit that subscribe button, but for now, I'll catch you guys very soon.